My mother fainted twice this year. The first time was in March. So she suddenly blacked out, and then that was in the middle of the night, right after she was going to toilet. And she was hospitalized with a hairline fracture on one of her ribs. And then since then, she's been having like random spells of dizziness, and she can suddenly feel dizzy at any point in time out of the blue, right? Totally out of the blue. So we never know when she's going to feel giddy and faint. Alright, she can get giddy when she stands up too quickly, which is a known problem and easy to manage so long as she knows how to get up slowly, right? Before she starts walking. But the really scary thing is this: she can get dizzy even when she's like seated comfortably watching the TV. So she can just get dizzy and faint at any time. So it was totally unpredictable. And because it was unpredictable, that was what made it really scary. Because sometimes her blood pressure becomes low, sometimes her blood pressure becomes high. She can get dizzy for both reasons. We could never tell when or where she was going to faint. She went through a whole series of tests and was hospitalized a couple of times after having dizzy spells, but the doctors could never find anything wrong. We were all very worried, and what if it happens again? And it did happen again. And this time it was even more serious. In July, while I was at work, my mother suddenly called me and told me, 赵红，我跌倒，现在头破血流. Means that she fell down and now her head was bleeding profusely. My mother is not someone who exaggerates things. If she uses such a strong term like 头破血流, it means it's really serious. Alright. So I told her, okay, I'm going to hang up. I'll call an ambulance immediately. You just wait for the ambulance. Alright. Later, I found out that she was cooking in the kitchen, and then she suddenly blacked out and fell backwards and then knocked the back of her head. So I rushed to the hospital just in time to see my mother being wheeled in to the emergency ward by the ambulance crew. Her head was bandaged, but to my relief, she was still conscious and she was still lucid. I was very lucky this time because other than the 6 stitches she needed at the back of her head, right, my mother didn't suffer any serious permanent injury. And we all know that if you fall back and knock the back of her head, right, how serious it can be. It's not something to be taken lightly. And I was very thankful that I still had my mother. But it also made me very fearful. What if it happens again? I desperately wanted my mother to get the proper treatment, to get well so that it wouldn't happen again. So over the next few weeks, another barrage of tests and more disease spells, and the final diagnosis given by the doctor is that elderly people can faint at any time for a variety of reasons. It's very common and there is no real treatment. The only thing they can do is to be careful. In Singapore, an average of 1 out of 3 adults above the age of 65 fall each year. The number rises with age, and then once you hit above 85, the chances of suffering a fall every year, it becomes 1 out of 2. So since there was no treatment, prevention was not an option. The next best thing was fall protection. So I started searching for a solution. I recalled some videos that I had seen on TikTok about this wearable airbag. It was a vest that if you fall, the airbags inflate immediately and cushions your fall and protecting major parts of the body from being seriously injured. So at the time I just thought, wow, this is such an interesting product, but I never did anything about it. Even after my mother's first fall, I also didn't think about getting the vest. But after the second fall, I was freaked out already. So I thought about, okay, what if it happens for a third time? So I must do something. So I decided to do something this time. At first, I was just looking for something to protect my mom. Then I recalled, while I was at the A&E waiting for my mother to get treated, there was another elderly lady that was wheeled in by the ambulance crew. She also had a bandage around her head. But I know that she injured her forehead, not the back of her head, because she still had a blood stain right here. Okay? And then there was also another elderly gentleman talking to the staff. Now, he didn't see it happen, but he was the one that called the ambulance. And he was telling the staff about how this person also fainted and also fell down and also got injured. So yet another faint and fall type of situation. And then while my mother was in the A&E treatment area, I went in to see her. She pointed out to me all the other elderly people that were in there because of fall injury. So I realized this was a big problem. So what started out as a search for a solution to help my own mother became a calling. Because I felt that this is a big problem, I think that if I can popularize this vest, it can save a lot of lives. But I know I'm going to face a lot of roadblocks. I have been dealing with elderly customers for 17 years and I know how they think. It's not a question about whether the children want to buy for them. Alright, that is not the problem. I'm sure a lot of children love their parents and they're willing to spend the money to protect their parents with this safety vest. The main problem is how are you going to convince the elderly to wear? There will be 3 main objections and I will now share how you as the child can handle these objections. The first objection, very common. Singapore so hot, how can I wear this? True, Singapore is a tropical country with a hot climate. So you put on an additional vest, you could sweat more. But the thing is, you don't need to wear this vest all the time. When you're in a safe position, such as you're sitting down on the sofa or lying on the bed, you don't need to wear. You only need to put it on in situations where it's more high risk, such as going to the toilet, cooking, exercising, or going up a staircase. It's just like wearing a jacket, right? Just wear it, go, and then after you're done, you go back to your chair or you go back to your bed, you take it off again. Alright, you don't need to wear it all the time. And the FallSafe Airbag Vest now has a new light version, which has bigger openings and is cooler to wear. Second objection, it's too expensive, 太贵了. Yes, the cost is a bit high, but you can point out to your parents, compared to the cost of hospitalization, which one is more expensive? I count for you. The airbag is 1599. To replace the canisters is 199. So the total cost for an activation is $1,800. Alright. I quote you a statistic now from the Health Promotion Board, right? Based on 2002 data, they did a retroactive study based on those patients who were hospitalized for hip fracture at public hospitals. The average hospitalization bill was $7,367. That is 4 times the cost of getting an airbag vest plus the canisters to recharge. Alright? And this was based on prices 23 years ago. Can you imagine how much more it costs now? So when you look at it from this perspective, the airbag vest is actually a very good investment. Now the third objection is a little bit more difficult to handle. Alright? Many of the elderly will say, 哎呀，太麻烦了，要穿，要脱下来，很麻烦, very troublesome. I have a way to handle this, but as a child, right, it may be very difficult for you to say this. So perhaps you want to show your parent this video and let me speak on your behalf. Alright, so I'm going to speak in Chinese because I think it may resonate with your parents more. 亲爱的 Auntie Uncle, 我知道戴这个安全背心会有一点麻烦，可是你要想，你每次跌倒啊，进医院啊，痛的人是你，可是辛苦的是你的孩子。为什么呢？你看你一进医院啊，他们要请假，他们要去医院看你，然后你出院过后，他还要带你回去复诊。他们也有自己的工作，他们也有自己的家庭，你真的忍心让他们那么辛苦吗？如果你不要他们那么辛苦，那请你穿这个安全背心，保护你自己，就等于在帮你的孩子减轻他们的负担。Don't wait for the next fall. Act now.